So, good morning, fellow paramotor pilots and aspiring pilots, and welcome to this flying story episode about
Very good morning, Rian. Very good morning.
about paramotor competition flying. Okay, I am your host Ryan Pinto for today. I am a paragliding and paramotoring pilot. Been so for the last 3 years, and I have about 100 hours worth of flying between the two. Um, and I am also the creator and manufacturer of the Skywalker line of electric paramotors. Um, with us today, we have uh, Group Captain Rajesh Singh and Mr. Nagendra Pratap Singh, both very celebrated and very popular paramotor PG and PPG pilots in India and internationally. And they will help us understand more about competition flying. Nagendra will give us the perspective of the competition pilot as a participant, while Captain Rajesh will give us the perspective from an organizational and judging point of view. Okay, so let me introduce them briefly. Uh, Group Captain Rajesh Singh is joined the Indian Air Force in July 1984. Did his basic training on the jet Kiran trainer and also on the helicopter Chetak, and right away got introduced to the aerosports part of the activities with the Air Force. Started with gliding and then parasailing in 1984, 1988, and moved on to paragliding in 2011 and paramotoring in 2012, which continues to date. One of his major achievements out there in the Air Force is being the captain for the Air Force paragliding team for 4 years and participating in the IAF Trans India Paramotor Expedition called Pradha Kina in 2016, and thereby creating a world record for the longest paramotor expedition of 10,463 kilometers, which is now recognized by the Elite World Records and the Limca Book of World Records of National Records in India. He is also nominated as a co-observer by ACI for World Paragliding Championship. He's a FAI trained judge for PG accuracy and a member of the PG accuracy tech committee for FAI Civil. Okay, he has been an international judge for several competitions in Asia, in Kazakhstan, Indonesia, as well as for paramotoring, uh, where he has organized the first national paramotor championships at Ramtek near Nagpur in Maharashtra. And he's been the team leader for Team India in the third Asian Oceanic Paramotor Championships in 2017 in Thailand, and also participated in the 10th World Paramotor Championship in 2018 in Thailand. Okay. Mr. Nagendra Pratap Singh is also a very active pilot. He is an FAI and ACI licensed pilot. He's got about 300 hours worth of flying experience. Between paragliding and paramotoring, he started flying in 2003. He's a world paramotor ranking pilot. His ranking number is 52, and he's participated in national competitions, international competitions in 2017 for the third Asia Oceanic Championships, and in 2017 for the National Paramotoring Championships in Ramtek in India. He has done various cross-country flights of both paramotoring and paragliding in India. So with that, a warm welcome to both Captain Rajesh as well as Nagendra Pratap Singh. And, we really look forward to learning a lot about this topic from you today.
Thanks for your modest introduction.
Yes.
Thank you, Ryan. And welcome, RK. Very nice to be here on this lovely morning.
Hi, Nagendra.
And looking at really nice questions and interactions from competition point of view and paramotoring pilot group.
Yeah, the pleasure would be mine to share whatever experiences I have gone along with you.
Pleasure.
Excellent. So with that, let us start with our first question for Captain Rajesh. Uh, Tell us more about paramotoring competitions and why they are important. Okay. And tell us also why, what are the events included in the category 1 and category 2 at national and international levels?
Okay. So for any sports, the adrenal flow is only when you are in competition. Similarly, in paragliding or paramotoring, you become a club pilot by getting a basic and intermediate training through various clubs. One set of people are satisfied doing free flying and enjoying the passion of flying. Whereas there is a second category which looks forward for competitive flying, wherein he intends to be the best. And it is the competition which declares the best of amongst the good pilots. So yes, in our country, we started pretty late as far as paramotoring is concerned, because it was only in 2017 that few of us decided that we should have some kind of competition within the country. And I became the president of Paragliding Association of India. And these pilots from paramotoring community also pestered me. Eventually, we decided to have the first competition at Ramtek near Nagpur, which has a beautiful reservoir, a huge water body. And flying over it was a bliss. I'm sure the members who participated, almost 33 of them in the first endeavor. From there, we started our journey, and very soon, perhaps luck was on our side, and we all were passionate and like-minded. So we had a selection committee which selected Team India to participate in first Asian Oceanic Paramotoring Championship in Thailand. From there onwards, the journey which started led us to the World Paramotoring Championship. Now coming back to the categories, what you mentioned, Rayan, the category 1 is the Continental Championship, which also includes the World Championship, wherein the participation is based on the sporting license issued by the National Air Control of the country. And there are other requirements along with that, which are not all that great. As long as you are having the sporting license and can do very safe flying, you are eligible. Category 2 is the next category, wherein it is an open championship of international stature organized under the aegis of FAI by respective National Air Sports Control. In our case, Aero Club of India is the National Air Control. And in case we wish to organize any international competition with category 2, then we have to go through Aero Club of India, which forwards our application with due recommendation to FAI, the body concerned. And we get this allotment done for hosting the competition. So as we progress, perhaps we'll talk more about how to participate and what are the nitty-gritties of the international competition that will follow in due course.
Thank you. Excellent answer. So I'll switch over now to Mr. Nagendra. I have a question for you, Nagendra. What is the equipment requirement, and the mental and physical demands and requirements to become a competition pilot at a national level?
Excellent. Thank you, Ryan. I'll share my experience based on what is the preparation you need to do from point of view of your mental well-being, physical well-being, and equipment. I think very positive mindset from external and internal psychological point of view is needed, because to go to World Championship is like going to Olympics of any sport, and whoever is coming there is not a regular flyer from point of view of fitness, and negativity can lead to break in focus. It can lead to poor performance, and it will not stop there. It can be injuries and fatal injuries. So you need to be very, very positive, because whoever flies knows, our sport needs a lot of mental agility. As far as physical preparedness go, then everyday living, you go into an environment where 7 to 10 days, you are waking up at 4 every morning and sleeping at 12 every night. And you are on the field in harsh weather outside. It is not leisure flying. It is a very tough sporting activity to be in a competition of paramotor at world level. So I think very important that you have uh, rejuvenated your body functions before you reach the competitions. Every people who are into physical fitness will uh, take help, understand. Apart from flying, you have to get into other trainings, which are and diets and high fluid diets, very restricted calories, short meals. You have to understand your protein requirement and make your body absolutely fit. Now you can't land into a weak ankle or a pain somewhere in the back and then you cannot participate or perform. As far as equipment's preparedness go, I always felt that the world championship is happening after every 2 years for a reason, that it gives you enough time to uh, focus, prepare, buy the equipment you want, practice on it, keep it in mint condition and take it there. And it is pilot's personal choice. But I think till the time equipment becomes part of your own body and behaves like that, you are not ready to take it there, because the downtime is not allowed. You cannot change the equipment which you have registered. If your glider is torn, you are out. If your engine is not working, you cannot bring a spare engine. You can repair it always. So this is a very, very critical point, that whatever you register with, you have to live with it for 7-10 days under those high performing conditions. So I would say it is a tandem preparation of mental, physical, and equipment to be ready to compete on a global level.
Wow, I didn't have even the slightest idea of the demands that were needed. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Next question for Captain Rajesh. How is paramotoring competition Team India selected? How is Team India selected for these international events?
Well, the selection process in India is very simple because the number of competitive pilots are limited. Still, the process remains the same. The selection committee is formed by eminent personalities of the sport who have large number of flying hours and experience of varied kinds. And they are the ones who select the pilots based on their performance in the national level. But then, as I told, ours is an evolving country as far as paramotoring is concerned. We did our beginning in 2017 only, and a lot of things is required to be done. Towards this, there was a need felt by all of us that to have a Team India selected in true sense, which can bring laurels to the country, we need to have a structured approach. And the first approach was to have a national federation. That I'm happy that we have formulated and got it registered. Very shortly, we'll come out with a website and a whole lot of other nitty-gritty. And the selection committee thereafter, nominated by the management committee, will do the needful based on the individual pilot's performance at various levels within the competitions organized in country, and also their experiences and ratings in the foreign lands where we go for competitive flying in category 2 and category 1 events.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Nagendra, tell us about your journey as a competition pilot. Okay, this at Asia Oceanic 2017 and the World Paramotor Championships 2018 in Thailand. What did you have to go through, to attend these?
Sure. Thank you so much. For this is very nostalgic to me and to every pilot. I think I was not very lucky like RK to go into Air Force and enjoy flying, beautiful planes and helicopters. I was lucky that I found Temple Pilots and Avi as my first trainer and mentor in 2003. And I joined Temple Pilots. I was in north of India, and it was very difficult to come from there and fly in Kamsher. And so the initial days were, hobby flying, very less, weather would permit, travel, it was not very sincere. Later on, I moved to Mumbai in 2011, and that was a big boon because of most of the good flying sites in and around here are accessible for 8 months in a year to fly. Weather permits that. And after doing a lot of paragliding, my interest was in powered flying because it was a little more fun and challenging from point of view of if I loved engine and power and those aspects of flying. So I was trained by Wings and Flight, Eric Menzies, who is definitely a great trainer, and he has trained most of us in India. And why I tell you this is that the initial days of seeding this interest was very, very important if you are trained with a great trainer and you want to excel and you want to see. So I started back trike flying in 2014, followed continuously in a year. I learned and flew a lot and moved on to backpack because I learned that backpack is very close to paragliding, and you can maneuver, you can do more things compared to trike flying, because of all technicalities most of you know here. So from there on, we learned about international competitions. It is an innate desire to test your skills, and you go out. And in 2017, like RK mentioned, that we were all in Nagpur, 33 of us, and I'm sure RK had a big team of another 20 people who were working on the ground to make this competition successful and for us to make it really interesting to. And frankly, it was like a great picnic, lot of sincerity, lot of flying. But then we understood that, there's a long way to go. And I personally also took charge, not just as a competition pilot, that we will form Team India, we will go to international competitions. All these international competitions category 2 events are open for individual registration also. So it is necessary and not necessary to go as a Team India. Yeah. But when you go as a Team India, you represent the country and you go there for the community and for excelling, and that is a great feeling. So we landed in Thailand in Asia Oceanic Paramotoring Championship, AOPC 2017. All of us partially experienced, some of us no experience. And it was nice, as I would put it, it was a competition of race cars. And then at least I landed with a humble old ambassador there. So you can know my state, yeah. So there we learned a lot, yeah, there we learned a lot in terms of what is required, because it's a gradual thing for every sports person. Whenever you go for any competition, you will take time to understand the environment, also rate yourself, understand, go, grow. So that was very good experience. My ranking was 52 then, and 2-3 tasks out of 28 I could not complete, did not start. But after that, I took it as a challenge. We practiced a lot. Again, in India, before WPC, Eric sir trained me a lot. And I was practicing with very competitive pilots like Ryan Ron. And we went to World Paramotor Championship in 2018, May. But I went a month earlier there, and I trained myself there in that environment with international trainer. And it was good experience. And one thing at a time, as I said, from last competition a year back to this, I progressed personally a lot. My scores were very good. I reached ranking of 42 instead of from 52. And also, it was great that all the tasks I was able to start and end without any injuries, without any problems, and everything was good. Now, I think we are very prepared for 2021 Brazil. It was in 2020, but then because of COVID, it got postponed to 21.
Wow, that is quite epic a journey. Very inspiring, and I really, sure should inspire a lot of aspiring pilots, to want to take up this route uh, going ahead. So, in that same light, the question now for Captain Rajesh, with respect to our current pilot talent in our country today, how can we go to the next level representing our nation, at national and international paramotor competitions?
See, once we move out of the club flying, we are left to learn and hone the skills on our own. There are few competition pilots who take up the instructional role, but it becomes a costly affair to invite them in one country, create a kind of paramotoring workshop wherein their skill levels could be grasped in a classroom level, and thereafter implemented during the flying activity, whatever we have in their coordination. But all this requires enormous support system and money. At this juncture in India, we are not prepared, honestly, but then endeavors are towards that end. As I said earlier, that the structured approach is required. Towards that, the first part, that is the federation, that has been done. Now we are already working on various modalities, and the first among them is the testing of proficiency level. The audience, since either they are from paragliding or paramotoring community, in either ways, you need the skill levels to be honed up so that you are acclaimed internationally at some rating platform. BHPA used to be one. And similarly, all the European countries and US where flying used to be popular and is popular still, they have their own set of standards. But unfortunately, in so many years of paragliding flying and a little bit of paramotoring flying, there's no system which has evolved in the country. Now that this federation has come up, we have taken up a task through the technical committee which will be set up to lay down certain standards based on all the safety parameters, whatever has been incorporated by these leading countries, and we'll have our own Indian system. Here a point comes when people say APPI rating system is already in existence. But I would like to remind the audience that APPI, Association of Paragliding Pilots and Instructors for PG, and APPI PPG for paramotor community, both are independent rating agency which are recognized by their fellow institutions only. Unless until the regulatory body of the country which controls aviation recognizes that kind of certification process, we are nowhere. So that is where I said we need to evolve our own system. It should be creditable, and eventually that would be recognized by, let's say, DGCA or Ministry of Civil Aviation or Ministry of Sports, either ways. And once that is in place, then our skill ratings would be honored by FAI. And based on that, we'll also get accreditation to the IPPC cards, which permits us, like international driving license, you have your country's license and you apply for the international license. Similar would be the structure what we have planned for as of now. So this takes care of the testing system of the pilots, because here the fundamental question is, I might be a good learner and I have become a pilot through a couple of institutions which are in the country, which are doing a wonderful job without any support from the government. We all are aware that whatever we have done in paragliding, paramotoring or hang gliding is individually. By our own passion, we have graduated and moved on to the international competitions. I wish we had some kind of political support wherein the system would have got some kind of financial support to prepare our grounds, takeoff landing areas, and then the performance would have been much, much better. Today, I'm sure each one of us has contributed not only to flying, but also for preparation of competitions, for preparation of landings, for preparation of takeoff, and as a pilot of the competition, still running around to organize a lot of things at the 11th hour. Yes, that reminds me of Nagpur days, what Nagendra said. We were preparing the ground even at midnight.
Wow, that is really, didn't know how much effort and dedication goes behind the scenes to make this possible. Thank you for all your efforts, and we I'm sure the entire community really appreciates that. Uh, Next question for Nagendra. Um, Tell us about the specific training that you had to undergo before going for the WPC 2018 competition.
Perfect. Thank you. I would want to bring to everybody's notice here, like a watchful chief instructor. Eric just logged in from the gliding takeoff to check on how things are. He messaged to me that he is not able to attend, but I just saw him and then he logged off. But so I discussed first training is that whoever trained you and whoever are your friends who see you flying on and off, sit and discuss with them. What do you want to achieve, what you want to do, and that is what I exactly did. And I spent 2 months with Eric sir training me, and we were finding sites, flying, whatever. It was good because and the weather is different here than where we were supposed to go for WPC in Thailand in Lopburi. Then during that discussions, it occurred to me, and I am mentioning all this because that will second the statement of RK. He was just mentioning, how to organize it and what I went through for the training itself. So then after that, I went to Thailand for a month with a full-time job. To take out that kind of time was necessary because otherwise you go there and have a picnic in tent in WPCA and enjoy. That is not the objective when you are bearing country's flag. And 1 month I flew and trained there in one of the bases called Nongkham Air Base, which is in between Pattaya and Bangkok. And David trained me there. I learned a lot of things, because every trainer has different styles, and David was associated with competitions happening a lot in Thailand. Thailand is a pretty robust country when it comes to paramotor flying and paragliding. From point of view of competitions, we have seen personally a lot of development which has happened over there, and it is nearby to us to reach easy, get trained, or whichever way people feel. But I'll want to bring to your notice one very, very important thing. Before I thought about going to WPC, I'm a big foodie and a party person. I was weighing 90 kgs. And my trainer, Mihir, he in 3 months trained me for complete physical fitness, and I pulled my weight down 21 kgs to weigh all of 69 kgs before I went for the championship. And it was very important because I realized when I went to AOPC, I didn't do any of this. And you would pant and you would perform and all, and you are really, really a different mindset if you spend time in physical training before any competition for 2-3 months. While one should have a lifestyle like that, but it's very difficult. So this is all I did for my training from point of view of 4 months preparation almost.
Wow, that is quite an inspiration. 21 kilos in 3 months.
Yeah.
I don't think I know anyone else personally, who has done that. My personal best is about 10 kilos, but that's over a year. Okay, next question for Captain Rajesh. What is the system of testing proficiency and skills of paramotor pilots in India currently? And then how can we look to improving the same to find and develop, the best talent?
Currently, there's no system of testing the pilot skill level in the country. Few of us have gone to APPI to get ourselves rated, and whatever rating they have accorded based on the skill level, that is fairly acceptable across the globe to so many countries. But as you rightly said, we need to evolve our own system of testing our pilots on 2 counts. One, going abroad, flying with them and getting tested costs huge amount of money. And secondly, we'll never be dependent on those pilots and instructors from abroad on our proficiency level. If we develop our own system, then we'll create our own talent pool for the instructors, for the examiners, and that system will work. As I said, the federation which has been created has factored in all these aspects of it. There would be a technical committee of eminent personalities who have huge amount of experience in paramotoring. They would devise a syllabus for the testing competency level, and based on the performance of the pilots, some of the pool of examiners would be conducting the annual, let's say, national workshop. In these workshops, these pilots who wish to participate to get tested for their competency level or proficiency level will appear for the test, declare themselves at whatever level they are, and the test would be carried out both in terms of the ground subject as well as the flying skills. Having done the test, whatever is the rating accorded to that pilot by this examiner of the technical committee would be holding its value and would be supported by government agencies subsequently in due course of time when we evolve and have that kind of standardization and regulation. So with this, we'll also be at par with the world paramotor flying countries, where the sports has evolved to a very great level. And then the third and fourth stage will eventually follow that apart from the machines which are there. If Modi ji's plan gets successful, we'll also have Made in India paramotors. And Rian, your efforts of having developed indigenous electricity driven, rather electric paramotor is a wonderful system. And I'm sure that would be very handy for our pilots, provided it gets its acceptance in the FAI and SEMA committee.
Thank you. Yes, I definitely look forward to it. I didn't realize that we are, so much in the pioneering phase of this, of this endeavor. So that's really very exciting days ahead for us. Thank you. Thank you, Captain Rajesh. The next question, back to Mr. Nagendra. What are the formalities and permissions or the documentation that's needed to enroll in an international paramotoring competition? Nagendra, are you there? We seem to have lost you briefly.
Sorry, can you hear me? I was on mute, my mistake.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. Great question, because we all prepare after preparing, it is very important to know the documentation in the beginning itself. You need few things, but those things are serious to have. And we need a passport for sure. Though it might sound funny, but we land up passport and right financials, personal financials to get a visa to go to any foreign country. Besides being a great pilot, many of us do not pay attention who are not traveling regularly outside India. So it's very critical, because many countries, it is easier to get visa, but in many countries it is very difficult. Even when you have competitions, they might not give you the visa or other requirements which are needed. Usually the competitions are announced much in advance, so you have a lot of time to prepare all this. Also, from technical perspective, from sporting perspective, you need FAI sporting pilot license, which is in category of microlight and paramotor. You don't have to apply for separate microlight license. That is one category, microlight and paramotor, because all paramotors are ultralight flying machines, ultralight microlight. Now, besides this, it always helps to be part of NAC, whatever National Aeronautic Club you have. In our case, it is Aero Club of India, and it is good to be a member there and take a license from them as well, because they are authorized to give you FAI sporting license. So you'll have to approach them at the moment. Also, the final list, like RK mentioned, the informal and formal process that we talk to individuals who are ready to go, who are fit enough, who also, because there are no sponsors, then who are also ready to take on that kind of expense. And then we prepare a list and we submit to ACI. ACI is authorized body to release the final list and give it to FAI, without which we will not be able to participate in the competition as Team India. As individual, I believe, RK, please correct me if I am wrong. As an individual, yes, you can directly apply, go there, but still ACI will clear your name and you can go there to any competition. Now, as far as permissions and licenses go, this is all I remember. But watch out for the rules, local rules and regulations. It is very important many times to apply for all these things. You know, flying community is beautiful. They organize everything smoothly. You have to just pay attention, read through the websites, and take advice from your fellow pilots, and your documentation will be done.
Wow, thank you. Thanks for that update. So it seems not very complicated, but fair amount of attention needs to be given to this.
Yes, yes.
Captain Rajesh, the next question is for you. Can the training of paramotor pilots be organized in India for international competitions, and what needs to be done to achieve the same?
Yeah, the training part, as I said earlier, in our country, there are a couple of schools which are doing wonderful job to train the basic pilots. Thereafter, one has to evolve on his own. As I said earlier, since the federation is formed, we at a federation level are working to organize a couple of national level workshops, which will have safety workshops, engine workshops, so that each pilot is evolving and getting familiar with the nuances of the skill levels required for competitive flying, as well as maintaining his own engine, because that becomes a very, very tricky part when you go abroad for participation, which Nagendra will agree. Many a times we are left high and dry because the mechanics who are mustered there, they work for, they're selected a lot because the competition pilots in abroad are much evolved. They hire these mechanics in advance and they work only for that pilot because obviously it is a competition. There, your individual skill levels comes very handy if you are also trained a little bit to do the basics of the engine performance and tweaking. Now towards this, as the other part in my earlier answers, whatever you questioned was competency levels. They are dovetailed because the training per se has to be imparted by qualified individuals. On that count, I had had a lot of discussion during my visits and participation in these international competitions. The international jury, Mr. Rohezi from Malaysia, there's another gentleman, Andika Mountaineer from Indonesia, Nayoth from Thailand, one Peter from Czech Republic, and another friend, Alexei from Russia. They all have gone ahead with at least assuring me that if required, we will take the responsibility to send our own people who are qualified enough to do competitive coaching. And mind you, they offered their help, as Nagin said. The paragliding and paramotoring community is such a wonderful community that we support mutually whatever we can. They said that as long as our expenditures are taken care of, travel and local hospitality, we don't require any other support on monetary terms. We are willing to work free, just for the passion of paramotoring. So in days to come, with the help of all of us, we are definitely going to have these good stalwarts of paramotoring who have proved their credentials, coaching our own boys in competitive flying.
Excellent, very exciting, and we're really looking forward to that. It's a request for the the audience or the other participants in this call that if you have any questions come up to you, do feel free to post them on the group chat, the Zoom group chat, and Siddharth will queue them up for later in the session. Next question, back to Nagendra. How many categories exist at the WPC? How many countries and how many pilots in total compete in each of these categories?
Great, wonderful. It's a very important detail to know for preparing. See, basically, there are three categories. They are based on the way engine is fitted. Is it in backpack? Is it in a solo trike, or is it in a tandem trike? This is basic classification in the competition. So the three categories are PF1, which is backpack, PAL1, which is solo trike, PL2, which is tandem trike. And you cannot register into two categories because it's not possible to be in two places at the same time, because all these three categories, things are happening simultaneously. Takeoffs are very fast, and lineups are very interesting. And so you have to choose which category you go to. That's very interesting. People ask me, you have world championships, so how many people participate? That's the obvious question. To know that, okay, if I tell somebody I stood 42, my rank is 42, then what does it mean to anybody? So just want to bring to your notice, I was reading somewhere on internet that there are 35,000 to 40,000 paramotoring pilots in the entire world only. And these are spread in various continents and country, and it is fairly new sport. And when people come to world championships, in both the championships I attended, there were 13 to 16 countries. Now to put it in perspective lightly, Cricket World Cup happens with 6 or 7 countries, right? Paramotoring World Championship happens with 16 countries. So though both scales are different. And usually we met people, the minimum number of pilots who came from any country were 4, and the maximum number of pilots which are allowed by FAI is 25. We went a team of 9 to 11 pilots and other officials, and there is a lot of scope. There's no restriction on number of pilots beyond 25. Very interesting thing I want to bring. So in all, in World Championship, there were 150 to 200 pilots who compete in all these three categories. And it is a point-based system, and you score points completing a task in whatever the task is, from point of view of navigation, from point of view of fuel efficiency, from point of view of accuracy. And some tasks combine all these three things itself, like cross-country flights. So that is how it is divided. And then you can very well choose your equipment and your participation. You can do all of them when you go first time, or if you have knowledge, then you can do some of them and excel. And that will be a great thing too.
Excellent. Thank you very much. There's a lot to learn here. Next question, back to Captain Rajesh. As an international paragliding judge, what do you see as the next steps for our Indian paramotor pilots? What would be your advice for them?
Yeah, that is the most, I should say, amazing part of my journey, which has taught me a lot. And with my eagerness to learn the nitty-gritty of it, I could develop the rapport with the international community. So, Ryan, am I audible?
Yes,
Hello?
sir, you are audible.
Okay. So, with whatever experience I had in these 5 to 6 years, interacting at various levels, organizing a national competition myself in Nagpur, to taking the Team India in Asian and World Paramotoring, participating abroad as a judge, I realized that there's a lot to be done in our country. To start with, there was an urgent requirement to have a federation. Having done that, we need to follow up the structured approach, wherein we need to create a pool of trainers in our country. The trainers would be training the pilots for competition. Apart from that, we also need to create a pool of judges and officials. Towards that, a little bit of groundwork has already been done by me. My friend Roheji from Malaysia, who himself is an international jury, has agreed to come for a workshop wherein he can train few judges in our country. Apart from that, we will utilize his visit towards appreciating the skill levels required for instructional task. Apart from that, we all can now appreciate with whatever discussions we had so far, that this being a very costly proposition, a lot is required to be done to have a kind of support system from the government. Now, relying on the government would be foolhardy, because unless until we create our own infrastructure, we create our own support system, government doesn't give that kind of recognition unless it is proven at a world level and the laurels come back home. So for that, sponsorship is one of the options. With my little bit of appreciation and integration with the system, I have developed a rapport with Red Bull. Along with that, few other big names are there. But unless until it materializes on the ground, it's premature for me to make statements of that kind. But yes, shortly, once we start organizing national level competitions within the country, the sponsors will multiply. The next stage is having our own trained officials. It may appear very easy that we can organize a competition. But let me assure you, everybody, that the moment you decide to have a competition, you have to kind of get into a hermitage wherein you are just interested in paramotoring, and paramotoring. Here, there's so much of coordination required at any and every level, be it the district level officials for permissions from police, from the district collector, to having a NOTAM for the Airport Authority of India to recognize that particular local flying area as an activity zone, wherein other pilots flying in that area take caution of it, to muster the pilot strength so that the competition becomes successful, and thereafter, not the least, preparation on the ground. As Nagin said, we require a huge pool of dedicated youngsters who can take on the responsibilities on the ground. Preparation of the ground is one part. Conducting the competition is another very tricky part. Here in this endeavor of mine, during my visit to Thailand twice, the president of Royal Aeronautical Association of Aerosports in Thailand, he's also an ex-Air Force officer, Group Captain, retired, Virayut Didya Sareen. Being from Air Force, I developed a wonderful rapport with him, but he's a big man in Thailand. All of us who have gone there can appreciate his stature. So having learned a lot from him, I spoke to him. He has assured me, in fact, during the Asian Oceanic that was third in Thailand, he prompted me that why can't India host 4th Asian Oceanic Championship? So we were so pepped up and charged up based on the support from my team. We decided that yes, we will go for it. But having come back, realized the ground reality, realized that the support system is missing, we had to get back a little bit, and we consoled ourselves, okay, let us wait for another year, prepare ourselves to that level, wherein we do a good job rather than making a mockery of ourselves, because that would be an international competitions. The other part is supporting the pilots for transportation of their equipment. The first endeavor was really horrific, but as I said, we have wonderful people around. Amongst them was one fellow pilot who participated in Asian as well as World Championship, was Captain P.R. Singh, flying for Indigo. He happens to be my ex-colleague, a senior of mine from Air Force. Based on his enthusiasm, he was the one who could garner sponsorship from Indigo Airlines, wherein all our machines were transported from anywhere we were to Calcutta and from Calcutta to Thailand, free of cost. Gentlemen, that is the kind of support system I was mentioning. And today, by God's grace, being in Air Force, I have a rapport with a couple of more friends who have become Director Operations, one in SpiceJet, one in Air India. So in due course, perhaps we'll have a kind of regular sponsorship in terms of supporting us towards that. Then coming to the insurance part, I agree. Most of the pilots who have gone abroad will appreciate, unless you have a valid insurance, you'll not be allowed to participate in the competition. But should we ever be dependent on foreign insurers? No. Towards that, again, we have taken a bit of initiative. There is an insurance company 360 that has come on board, and they will offer our support system in terms of insurance right in India for national competitions, including tandem flying. For tandem flying, a passenger would be insured for a meager amount of 150 rupees, covering about 5 lakhs, including evacuation, medication, and all that stuff. So that would be a good beginning. Things have started moving, and I'm sure with the support of my community, we'll do a wonderful job in days to come.
Thank
I
you.
like
Dr.
to add, Ryan, something in RK. As a competition pilot, we felt very safe from organizers' point of view in Thailand, because there was a team of volunteers and team of very trained marshals apart from judges. And you have to see how these marshals worked, you know, like in Hawkeye, they would keep their prime uh, objective was to make the SOP implemented and whatever was decided and everything done. And I never saw anybody quarreling, fighting, ये किसका काम है, do this, do that. You know, the attitude was completely different, because I think for one love of organizing international event for flying, you know, so we should get people who are at least having that kind of passion for even becoming marshals and support group.
Yeah, rightly said.
Very cool. Very cool. At this point, we'll start taking some of our audience questions. The first question is from Imad. Imad, go ahead, unmute yourself and join us.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to know, like you said, everybody has a different engine, but is there any specific category that you need to have this type of engine or this minimum CC of engine for a solo or for a tandem, you know, or special category? Like, I don't know, what are the rules? I just wanted to know what are the categories that you require specifications for an engine.
Sure. So Imad, specifications in my experience are pretty open. After you have decided that which category you are going to be going in, backpack, solo trike or tandem trike, there is no limitation to how many CCs minimum or maximum you're going to choose, or which make or what you're going to bring there. But only restriction is that whatever you register with, for example, if you chose a backpack engine, which gives you an excellent fuel mileage and is less powerful, thinking that you will do well in fuel efficiency in cross country, and in slalom maybe you will require more power, so you will change the engine, but that is not possible. One engine for all tasks. Once you register, so you have to choose carefully yourself. There is no regulation of any sort over there. You will be surprised, you know, we have very enthusiastic pilot, all of you know him, Vijay Sethi. PPC was not the category in World Championship. Okay, he came there and he worked through the authorities, and PPC, his PPC was included with Rotax engine, yeah, and he was flying with us doing all tasks, whichever he wanted to do. So there's no restriction, Imad.
What is your opinion on, as a experience thing, what do you think is the best engine?
See, best engine, there's nothing called best engine, you know. I fly Polini 130, and at that time people were advising that you should buy 190 and 200, those were popular models. But then I went for lower weight after I got trained from David. I realized I don't need heavier engine, I need more maneuverability and things whatever I wanted to do. And yes, you can look at what RK pointed out, that if you do not have a mechanic and you know a little, you will not find one there. So you should choose the engine whose parts are easily available for repairs while the competition is going on. Vittorazi is the only company which put up stall with engineers over there. for servicing anybody's engine who wanted to come there or improvise. No other company came, but yes, there was enough support for Polini is very popular in Thailand, so I chose Polini because it was easy to get parts there.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I'll just like to add on this. As regards the engine specifications are there, they have been highlighted in section 10 of the FAI rules for paramotoring.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Next question for Nagendra. How safe is it and how feasible is it to carry your paramotoring equipment outside of India for these events? And how did you do it in 2017 and 18?
Very good question, Ryan. I think we'll realize that after a point of time, you go through the experience of packing and taking your engine to various sites, whether it is domestic or international. It feels like you're packing suitcase to go on a beach holiday. Okay, but yeah, you need to have correct preparation because your equipment can be mishandled and damaged. And when it reaches there, it can be, you might land up having no parts, nothing, in the beginning of the competition. So what we did was we consulted each other and we made very nice wooden crates and boxes, because not just for packaging there, it was a boon for us that when we were in the World Championship tents, it is very important to secure your belongings and everything individually. When we are competing, you can't borrow somebody's screwdriver and doing somebody and throw it here and there and all. We went through all this, and it is a very normal thing that you don't find the right tool to just tune something because somebody took it from some other country, borrowed it, not steal it. So very important to think, give yourself time, understand how you're going to pack for transportation and use over there, and then what you're going to bring back. So you can dismantle complete engine. Most of us know how to do it by ourselves and little help, and then take it in the smallest package, because our machines should not attract volumetric weight while shipping. And there are volumetric weight will be attracting more shipping charges than compact weights, because these are not heavy, but they are very volumetric in nature, especially trikes. Now, once you transport stuff from here, correct documentation is very important, so that from one port to other, while going from India and coming back to India, you do not face problem with customs. And especially very important to learn what is allowed by local aviation authorities to pack. You cannot pack your batteries in certain baggages. You need to pack your walkie-talkies with correct instructions. And a lot of equipment details are there, which by talking to fellow pilots, we learned, we discovered, and we took our things there. In the end, like RK mentioned, we all collaborated by finding our own contacts to sponsor various things, whether people's air tickets or shipping these things. It's a very good help financially, but technically we only did everything by ourselves, because it is your engine. You exactly know how to pack it, how to operate it, and how to repack it and bring it back. It is not a problem at all. There are two choices. You can take it with you in the flight you are going. Now there is a weight restriction because of labor laws. Above 30 kg, they will not book your luggage. 30 or 35 kg, I'm not sure, but it's not like earlier we could take 50 kg weight in one bag. So you take care of that, or you can ship it by air or ship. Usually competition much in advance gives you a local contact over there, which is part of the organizing team to send it by ship. For example, when we send our goods to Brazil now in 2021, it will be very expensive to take it in with you in the flight. So you can send it 2 months in advance. It's okay, they will take care of it, keep your package.
Thanks, Nagendra. Very, very handy tips. There is quite a bit of complex logistics here, if you want to participate in these events. So thanks for those tips. We'll take another audience question. The next question is from Rushi. Go ahead, Rushi. Unmute yourself.
Hello, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
So I have two quick questions here. First to RK sir, what is the current timeline for the selection for WPC 2021? And secondly, this one, both of you can give me some inputs. That I want to participate in navigation category in 2021. So in last WPC, as we saw, people had a really hard time going into navigation tasks because simply we didn't know how to go forward. So I wanted to know, is there any way or method that we can calculate the distances and the waypoints rather than just going dead reckoning? Can we use drumline distances or great circle distances to complete this task? Thank you.
So as I appreciate, there are two parts of your question. One is the timeline for preparation and participation in the World Paramotoring Championship 2021 in Brazil. So towards that, we have in mind, and preparation work is already afoot to have the second National Paramotoring Championship at Tehri, which is there in Uttarakhand state. There, we are likely to get a lot of government support, so we chose that place. So the competition would be held at par with whatever rules and regulations are applicable for FAI competitions. The intent is that people who have not got that opportunity to participate in international competition, they at least get to see what is the international competition and what all rules and regulations would be applicable. Having done that, next year, 2021, somewhere around February, we intend to have the third National Paramotoring Championship with a special focus on selection of Team India for participation in Brazil. The aspect of your question that how to prepare for navigation task, since we have a stalwart and a very experienced international player, Nagendra himself, I'm sure he'll be able to do justice by explaining the nitty-gritty of it.
So Ruchi, first of all, I would seek a little difference here. That Indian pilots performed very well in navigation tasks. In fact, the medals came because of that only. And whoever was present there, yes, for AOPC 2017, then also we got recognized for our navigation skills. But navigation alone is not a task. It is combined with usually fuel efficiency or speed. And for that, you need a lot of cross-country flying practices much before you land there, how to not use instruments and understand at what height you are flying, because there's a, as you would be knowing in competition, they give you imaginary corridors, which are between height of 500 to 1000 feet. So you need to fly in that imaginary corridor without any instrument. The instrument given to you is a blind instrument. Your pilot is not supposed to seek any instrument help. And even your mobile is wrapped and put in your pocket for only emergency use in case you landed somewhere to call your rescue team. So in all those things, I think the lot of practice is needed to understand at what height you are flying, at what speed you are flying. And then of course there is the task of handling the map which they give, which is a physical map. And it is a large map. It is a A2 size map on which you declare and you declare various parameters based on your glider speed and your performance and next day's weather. You give declarations one day before that how you're going to follow, which route you're going to follow, and collect as many waypoints without doing penalties in your navigation task. And that is why it is very critical to practice a lot of cross country in paramotor. Usually when I go who are not competition pilots, I fly with almost everybody. They're not doing cross countries, rather they are, you know, just enjoying on some beach or some lake, which is fine, you know. I mean, but if you don't do that, you will not be able to understand navigation and land in WPC, not faring at all. Rushi, did I answer that, Rakesh and me?
Yes,
or
sir.
you have a
Yes, sir.
question?
Pretty much. Just one more thing. I wanted to know how to handle the map. I mean, when you put the waypoints on the map, do you generally use the rumble? Are we
Yeah.
allowed to use the compass in the navigation task?
So how I do it, I can tell you, because different people will develop different skills. If they are practicing earlier, then they'll develop many skills. So I use a hard board, usually thermocol, because it is light, and you can cut it into a square shape or a round shape. Round shape is better because then you can turn it very easily, but also round shape, when you put in the front, it keeps on rotating while flying also, that is possible. So you have to practice, you know, put yourself in hang points in a flying position on the ground, and you practice, you know, what kind of rig is working. But definitely you cannot put map in your pocket and open it and it flies away and goes into the prop or whatever. You have to fix it and carry a pen, stopwatch, everything. You're doing a lot up in the air. Besides flying, you are from one waypoint to other, you are calculating all kind of speeds. And my experience was these waypoints are very, very close. They are not, some of them, you know, come to you in 10 seconds. Some of them come to you in 10 minutes. So it's a mix of everything. So you will have to practice your own rig, but basically you have to put, you in flying position, you should have the map which is flat, whichever way you want to put it, and it should be writable. You can write things on it before and while in flight, so that you can keep calculating and taking decisions.
Okay, I'd like to add a little bit on this for Rushi's appreciation. This problem would be faced by many because the nuances are far too much. To help each pilot who is aspiring to participate internationally, what we have factored in is to have a national workshop for navigation and various other competitions, what we are likely to encounter during this national championship itself. So Rushi, you are welcome to join the competition as well as the training workshop.
Perfect.
Definitely, sir. Definitely, I'll be looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, both of you.
Thank you, Rishi. Great question. Next question is for Nagendra. Nagendra, what is the approximate cost for a pilot to participate, in the WPC outside India?
It's a very tricky question, yeah, because first, I think the cost depends on your lifestyle. Because if you're going to any place, everyday travel, it's up to you how you want to figure it out, how lean you are, how frugal you are, or how spendthrift you are. But I'll still try to answer some standard costs for everybody's benefits here. I think it starts with training first, and training in India. And usually, in my experience, paramotor training has costed you 10,000 rupees per hour or 10,000 rupees per day or something like that, which is my averaged out cost. And you might need 10 or 15 days of training, practicing, and that kind of expense is there. But the training specifically should be not logged in as expense for only WPC, because you're anyways flying at this stage, you are advanced pilot. And then I will always suggest that till the time the new formed organization is arranging a lot of trainings, that will bring the cost down. Otherwise, before the competition, you should land 4 or 5 days early, if not, and practice there, get hold of somebody from here who understands that terrain and helps you in understanding few things much in advance. And those trainings can also cost you anything between 50,000 rupees to 1 lakh rupees, depending on which country, which currency you are in. So that makes 2 lakhs. Then licenses and competition fee and everything, Indian licenses and all that, should not cost you more than $500 US, which is roughly 40,000 rupees. Yeah. And then of course your visa costs and all that again depend on the country. So I took it as 50,000 rupees and not more here, which makes 2.5 lakhs. Then equipment transport should cost you, if you well planned and done nicely, it should cost you anything between 25 to 50,000. So I'll take higher side 50,000, so it becomes 3 lakhs. Then your personal travel, your boarding, lodging, your stay, everything depends on your lifestyle. You travel economy class, business class, whatever maths you do. So I put average cost of around 1.5 lakh rupees towards that, which includes staying during competition. Usually when you pay competition fee, they give you a shared room within that. Shared room can have 4 pilots, 2 pilots. You'll have to book it much in advance. If you want solitude after a hard day's work and you want to take your own place in the same, through same organizer, then you will have to pay extra. And of course, as a team, you need vehicles there and all that. There's a lot of commuting, repairing, everything happening. So to total, on an average, you will need a minimum of 5 lakh rupees to participate in a world championship, including trainings, you're going there and coming back and all that, roughly.
Wow, that's quite something. I'm going to go back into audience questions now. We have a question from Amit. Amit, please go ahead. You need to unmute yourself, Amit.
Yeah.
Amit, you are there to ask the question?
Okay, if Amit is not...
If it was Amit Kulkarni, he has left, I think.
Okay.
No, I can see the video, but then I don't see. Okay, fine. We can take next, and if he comes back.
If he comes back, Amit, we'll have you again. In the meanwhile, Madhu, please go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, Nagendra, thanks. Your explanation or answer to Rishi was really fantastic on the navigation part. It was really nice to hear that.
Thank you.
Yeah. My query is on the licensing part. I just wanted to know how or what is the process to approach the ACI to get a license here in India for participating in any of these national or international championships.
RK, आप बताएंगे?
Yeah. Hi, Madhu. I suppose you are Madhu Lakshman?
Yes, sir.
Hi, how are you? Long time?
Long time, sir. How are you?
Fine. I'll request Siddharth to let me see his picture also.
Madhu, you need to switch on your video.
Video, how do I do it? I'm not able to see that.
On the bottom left.
Oh, yeah. Start video. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, able to see me now.
So wonderful.
Hi, sir.
Okay. As regards your question for getting a sporting license through Aero Club of India, it is very simple that you need to get hold of a scanned copy of your logbook.
Yes.
The first page, which gives all your credentials in terms of your date of birth, address, and blah, blah, blah. And the last page of whatever is your total flying experience. And in between, if you have done a couple of courses, that should also get scanned. Send all this along with the application online. That is a mail to secretary @aeroclub of secretary.general, sec.gen, standing for Secretary General @aeroclubofindia.com. I'll just recheck. That address is already available on their website. And along with that, you have to ask Aero Club of India what is the current fees is required to be paid for the sporting license. But before you apply, they will also request you to be a member of Aero Club of India. So these are the new inputs which have come up. With this, your logbook being certified by whatever senior competitors and officials are there in the country as of now, which suffice for the Secretary General to consider your application. And within a week, I suppose, you'll get your sporting license.
Also, one thing I want to add here. Usually when you are getting your license first time from FAI, they insist on visiting, because I mean, there's no rule like that, but they would like to hand over to you in person so that they know the person behind all these documents for the first time only. After that, every year renewal, it can keep coming to you. If not that, then ACI membership, they will go through rigorous process of asking you. It's a very, very long form on website to upload lot of documents which are basically your KYCs.
Yeah, thanks very much. Thank you.
Excellent.
So Madhu, we'll like to see you there in November in Tehri. You'll be informed about the details.
Yes, sir. Thanks so much.
Looking forward.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Next question to Vijay. Go ahead, Vijay.
Yeah, hello everyone.
Hi Vijay, how are you?
Hi. I would like to share with all our paramotoring community एक अच्छी खबर हम बात करेंगे. Competitions की बात हो रही है. RK सर, नागेंद्र जी बहुत अच्छे तरीके से सब आप एक्सप्लेन कर रहे हो. नागेंद्र और सभी का एक ही इशू आता है, RK सर भी इसमें और बाकी लोग भी देखेंगे कि एक्सपेंसेस. हमारे इंडिया में टैलेंट की कमी नहीं है भाई. इतने अच्छे टैलेंटेड पायलट्स हैं लेकिन वो पहुंच नहीं पाते. अब एक प्लेटफॉर्म जो खड़ा किया है RK सर जैसे बता रहे हैं, फेडरेशन है, फेडरेशन के थ्रू जाएंगे या इंटरनेशनल पायलट्स को, इंटरनेशनल जूरीज को, ट्रेनर्स को बुला के ट्रेन करा दिया जाएगा. ये सबसे बड़ा बहुत अच्छी चीज होगी, क्योंकि जब हम एशियन ओशियानिक में गए थे तो बस फुद्दू की तरह थे सब लोग. किसको कुछ समझ नहीं आ रही थी क्या किया जाए, किस तरह से जाना चाहिए, बट गए क्योंकि वी आर इंडियंस और हम लोग कहीं पीछे नहीं रहते. फाइन. तो मैं ये ऐड करना चाहूंगा कि RK सर विथ योर परमिशन, हम लोगों ने भी कुछ ग्रुप ऑफ कंपनी से, मेरी भी कुछ कंपनीज है, कुछ ग्रुप ऑफ है, टैलेंट को बाहर कैसे लिया जाए. तो बाकी टेक्निकल चीजें तो आप कर लोगे, कुछ हेल्प हम लोग अपनी तरफ से करना चाहेंगे, हमारी कंपनी की ओर से करना चाहेंगे कि वॉट एवर नेशनल कॉम्पिटिशन्स में सिलेक्ट जो भी उन तीनों के जो वर्ल्ड चैंपियनशिप है, पैरामोटरिंग वर्ल्ड चैंपियनशिप, उसका स्पॉन्सरशिप उनको 3 लोगों को दी जाएगी. दैट विल बी इंक्लूडेड उनका कंपटीशन का फीस एंड एयर फेयर. ये मैं आज कम्युनिटी को बताते हुए मुझे खुशी हो रही है. एंड बस पायलट सब आगे आइए, पार्टिसिपेट कीजिए और अपने देश का, अपने तिरंगे का नाम ऊपर कीजिए. थैंक यू.
Wonderful.
Superb, sir.
That's a good encouragement. Thank you so much.
That's it from my side.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Vijay. Next question from Mr. Rohan.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan, for for allowing me to ask a question. Nagendra sir, we were talking about the navigation and everything. So you were explaining that we should take a cutout and everything. So as we use navigation equipments in paragliding, so can't we use the same in paramotoring competitions? Like, is it not allowed in the competition?
Yeah, Rohan, you're right. It is not allowed. They give you a blind flymaster for judges' reference later on to download the data. You are not supposed to use any kind of electronic equipment for your navigation. It's pure piloting skills from how you sense the environment and how you see it.
Okay.
Just to add one more, you are allowed to carry your cell phone just as a secondary means once you force land somewhere. Yeah. And mind you, that is sealed very beautifully, so that you don't utilize that while in flying the competition.
Oh, that's actually a new thing I came to know now, because I was thinking like paramotoring competition will be easy, you know, like taking the you have the navigation and flying like that. So now it becomes really difficult.
Don't worry, you'll get first-hand information when you come for competition in November.
Okay.
Excellent question, Rohan. I think we have a little time left. If anybody else wants to ask questions, now is a good time to say so.
Yes, try and Amit this side. Amit Kulkarni.
Go
Hi,
ahead,
Amit.
Amit.
Yeah, hi. There was some technical issue with Zoom. That is why I got disconnected.
Okay, go ahead then.
Yeah. See, I'm a hobby pilot. I have a question. Prior applying to ACI license, what are the in-between stages if I want to prepare myself in next 3 or 4 years properly for the competitive exams or competitive flying? So, do we have any kind of SOPs wherein we have created an website for flying community where we can follow those steps and prepare ourselves? Thank you.
Okay, so your question, as I appreciate, is you don't want to apply at the beginning for sporting license, but you want to prepare, and eventually when you feel you are ready enough for participation in international competition, that's the time you are going to apply for sporting license. Right, Amit?
Right, sir.
Okay, so in this, just a small input that sporting license has rather it gives you authority to participate in the international competition. Whether you have it within a year of your having done the at least club pilots, rather advanced stage of paramotor flying, or at a later date, it is purely up to you. But this requires to be renewed every year. So if you have earlier, the better, because you never know when you get the kind of kick to participate in an international competition. Even though you may feel that I'm not ready to that extent, but still, my appreciation is that even as a rookie pilot, one should go abroad as a team member. Even if he doesn't fly, he should appreciate the nuances of the competition which he witnesses firsthand, because that gives him or her an in-depth appreciation about the competition itself, various category of events and competition, whatever is going on, and how to prepare based on his experience. So that becomes a value addition, and thereafter you are better prepared and do your practices when you are back home.
And Amit, I'd like to add that I think once you are flying 40, 50 hours a year, you are ready to take a sporting license. In my experience, it's perfectly fine. And as RK mentioned, it'd be a great experience because we have a lot of official posts to go with Team India as team assistant, team coordinator, pass. You know, we can, if you are not even actively participating flying, if you feel that way, then it is always good to go and gain a lot of experience with all of us, not just Indian team. You'll meet best pilots from world over.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amit. You have something more to add? We have just a little time left and one more question from Vinay Singh.
I have one more.
Oh, Imad. Okay, so Imad, I suppose you can go ahead since you're already online.
Yeah, just one thing. There are many of us, maybe I feel at least, who are not maintaining the logbook. Many of us, after some time feel not required because we've never thought of taking part in any competition as such. And suddenly now that you want to take these licenses, you require those logbooks, and you don't have any logbooks. There may be quite a few pilots who are not maintaining those logbooks. So what do you do, even though you're flying quite a number of hours in a year, or maybe in a lot of hours you have done, but you've not maintained your logbook? So how do you manage that?
So Imad bhai, my experience, you all are much more experienced pilots than I have flown, or I mean, especially paramotoring community. But from point of view of competitions, to prepare ourselves mentally, it is very good to bring that discipline to log yourself. Now it is very easy to maintain a logbook digitally. You know, you just download any app, switch it on before your flight, and it will record everything for you. You don't have to write anything, and then you can export that file into Excel or anything. They're very easy apps. So I will encourage everybody here, whether they fly for competition or not, to maintain very regular logbooks for their flying hours, their experiences, as well as their equipment. Very, very important. small details we miss out, so that we are flying safely, and then ultimately it leads to license. As far as ACI goes, I didn't face that problem because I was maintaining my logbook, so I gave it. But then RK can tell, if without a logbook, can we get a ACI license?
Imad Bhai, good afternoon.
Hi, sir.
I'll request Siddharth in case I can see Imad Bhai.
Yeah, he's on.
Okay. So, firstly, Imad Bhai, you need to shave a bit so that I can see the lovely face I saw during Nagpur.
I will, sir. I will.
Okay. God bless. The question what you raised is very pertinent because most of the senior flyers are never bothered because that was not required in that point of time.
Correct.
But then since you are keen, there is a help available. Whatever you could recollect, whatever is the amount of logbook you have maintained, that is one. From there onwards, maintain a new logbook based on your whatever memory says and get it authenticated by the fellow flyers with whom you have been flying all this while. So we will take up as a little bit of exception because this should not be the rule, but knowing individually each pilot, it matters a lot and we'd like you to be on board.
Right, sir.
Once you create that logbook with the whatever memory you are having and it gets authenticated by your fellow flyers, we will discuss how to go about it.
Right, sir. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Excellent, excellent. Next question for Vinay, and this could possibly be our last question for the day.
Yeah, Nagendra bhai, my question is simple. Let's say 20 tasks अगर हमें दिए जाते हैं, 20 waypoints in a navigation task, then are these 20 points are clearly visible on ground or they are in terms of coordinates?
Yes, it's World Championship, so they are not visible.
So it's a new place when you are flying in the new place.
For a great enthusiast of cross country, I keep seeing your video every day, every week. For you, it might not be difficult because on the map is photocopied. Okay, that I think deliberately they put that to the task. It's not a very clear map, and there are lot of streets, roads, depending on whatever. Nothing is written or marked over there. It's a blank map without any language mention. किसी जगह का नाम नहीं लिखा होता, कुछ भी नहीं है. You have to identify everything by symbols, and it's a very basic map. So when you are flying, and we can get disoriented doing so many things up in the air, especially when you have to do the waypoints. Waypoint is only marked as a dot over there. That's where they have, and that waypoint will be tracked later on by Flymaster, how close or how far they were. There are definite set of rules which you have to follow from point of view of right of way, the flight corridor, in case if you are arriving early, then how do you kill your time? You cannot go outside the track. And all this is not marked, no flags, nothing is there. So you follow one street and then you realize, oh my God, this is not that street. वो वाला कच्चा रास्ता था. तो आपके कुछ वे पॉइंट मिस हो गए. तो ये बहुत मजेदार है, बहुत ही मजा आता है कि you decided to cover 32 of them and you came back. Landing बहुत जरूरी है, वापस आ गया. अगर वहाँ लैंड हो गए तो आप गए कंपटीशन से, उस पर्टिकुलर टास्क से बाहर. तो जब भी आप वापस आएंगे और जब आप लैंड करेंगे, it is okay to cover 10 waypoints. You will be surprised that people who you were thinking के बहुत ज्यादा ही जबरदस्त लग रहे थे, वो लोग 32 waypoint के चक्कर में कहीं खेत में ही लैंड हो गए. तो अपने हवा में जो भी चल रहा है उसके हिसाब से आप डिसीजंस लेके try and start and collect whatever you can and come back without thinking, because बहुत मजेदार है उसमें. वो स्लैलॉम के अलावा किसी में ऐसे कंपटीशन नहीं लगता है कि रेस हो रही है कोई, है ना. इट इज योर पॉइंट स्कोरिंग.
So just for our community, can you photocopy or can you produce such one kind of map कि इस type का map मिलता है वहाँ पे?
Yeah.
Good. I was thinking, you know, we should have some photos and videos, but yeah, let me see if I have something here quickly. We can keep talking. I'll just try to locate and.
Yeah, मैं कुछ ऐड करता हूँ तब तक.
हाँ, please.
विनय, it's very interesting task होता है ये navigation का. पहले तो आपको देखो सिंपल मैप रीडिंग सीखना पड़ेगा. मैप रीडिंग में जैसे हम देखते हैं कि सिंबल क्या दिया हुआ है, टेम्पल का सिंबल है, देन कोई नाला बह रहा है, नदी बह रही है, बड़े बड़े पेड़ दिए हुए हैं, टावर लाइन है, या तो देन टेलीफोन का टावर है. ये सिंबल का हमको रीडिंग सीखना पड़ेगा. वो सिंबल रीडिंग जैसे ही आ गया तो बस यार वो आ गया तो बल्ले बल्ले. मैंने 18 पॉइंट कवर किए थे 32 में से.
विजय भाई ये जो मैप रीडिंग है ना वो खून में है अपने.
अरे फिर तो
that's why I was mentioning to Rushi that navigation में Indians performed very well. Medals
very well. तो मैप रीडिंग में ये सिंबल्स अगर पता चल गए ना तो मैंने तो कोई रेकी नहीं मारी थी, कुछ भी नहीं था. मैं तो मस्ती के लिए ज्वाइन हुआ था और एक एक्सपीरियंस लेना था. बट 18 पॉइंट कवर किए मैंने और बढ़िया सा लैंड भी हुआ वापस.
So I think it is a good idea to be there before time. Maybe a week 10 days आप पहले पहुंच जाएं, पूरे एरिया की रेकी.
Absolutely, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. If you are cross country and reiki, yeah, that's a very good point. You go early, you fly over the terrain, वो map हाथ में आते ही वो photo आने लग जाएगा mind में.
Yes.
Yeah,
but Vinay bhai, one very important thing is that also to know one's own capability and progress. You know, during the competition, every day is not the same. As I told you, it is very taxing because you wake up at 4 every morning and sleep at almost 12 or 1 every day for continuously 7 days, staying outdoors, waking up at this regime and all that. You need a lot of mental, physical fitness over there to understand and focus.
But Vinay will also get an opportunity when we host the national championship in your state, wherein we are going to have this navigation task as the norms are for international competitions.
Okay.
So your skills would be tested there.
Yes, thank you. I'm waiting for that.
As part of organizing team and a part of pilot, competition pilot, both.
We'll give that leverage.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Vinay. Excellent question. You know, it really shows the edge we have here in India, where we learn to navigate without proper signs and proper maps. So that really helps us in in competitions. So I think with that, you know, we come to an end of today's Flying Story episode. Thank you everyone for joining us. It was a real pleasure to host it. I learned so much. I didn't know even the slightest bit of what was going on. And it was one of the reasons why I told Siddharth, you know, maybe I'm not the best choice because I know nothing about competition flying, but this has really been quite an eye-opener for me. You know, I'll hand over the mic to you guys. Those of you who want to stay back, you know, after the official end can stay back. But I'll hand over the mic to Nagendra and Captain Rajesh to, you know, to give your closing remarks.
Thank you so much, RK sir and Nagendra. Very nice.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm unable to hear anything now.